What's going on, guys? Today I want to show you how I create huge vocal stacks for all of the Fire Follows music. I'm gonna do something a little bit different today. I'm gonna just screen capture or screen record the session from shedding this skin and let you guys kind of see what's going on underneath the hood and yeah, how much is happening there. So let's dive right in. All right, so first thing is I don't do the mixing on these songs. I do the recording and then the editing, and I'll do some, I guess, kind of pre-mix things. But otherwise, I just, these all get bounced down as individual audio files and sent out for mixing with Landon Hook and Chris Henderson. It's Hendy Amp Studios. Look them up. They're incredible. I buy a ton of their gear in addition to having them do all the mix master on my stuff. But here's what I wanted to show you guys is this is how many, each one of these that you see, where you've got this highlighted yellow S is an audio track. And I could probably group these a little bit tighter, but I'll explain why I don't. This is the main vocal. Right here you can see main lead vocal. And then this is how deep the harmony stacks get. So each one of these is an independent recorded vocal line. And then it just keeps going down here and keeps going and going and going and going and going and going. And then once we hit this, we're to the guitars. So let me go ahead and play this for you. And I've got everything basically, as you can see, just panned kind of randomly left, right. Mostly it's hard left, hard right. So I'll play it. The harmony parts are turned up much louder than they would be on the recording, but I want you to be able to hear them. So I'll go first verse through the first chorus because the second verse, second chorus are basically the same. And then I'll play the bridge so you can hear that. And then I'll start breaking down what this is and how I go about recording it. So here we go.
Woke up in this tug of war. Everything feels so godforsaken. What the hell am I fighting for? Little white rabbits got me chasing. Carousel out of control.
Shake me loose.
I need unwinding. I'll take past this rabbit hole. Shedding their skin that never was mine. Never was yelling these moods that grew in the light. I need you to hear me sincerely. Yeah, burn it all down. There's no going back. I'm awake, I'm alive.
All right, so there's first verse through first chorus, like I said, second verse and second chorus, different words, but basically the same kind of model in terms of harmonies. Here's the bridge.
I will bury what's left in a mile deep hole, just in case I forget. It was always fool's gold. I will bury what's left. I will let it all go, but in case I forget.
All right, and then I have a little talk line here after the bridge. Yeah, that's just kind of boring. So anyway, so you can hear how much is going on there. And if I was you, what I'd be asking is, why the hell do all of this? Why track so many different parts? And here's the thing. Each one of these lines, so this one right here, for example, says low octave. What that means, and I kind of suck at labeling stuff, but I understand what I'm labeling, obviously. I just have to tell my engineers. But so if I take everything off solo and just solo these, low octave is the main vocal melody. In this case is that higher, it's this line right here. And by the way, all of these, there's no processing in the box processing on any of these. I'm recording through a couple of compressors and a saturation unit, but this lead vocal is the only thing I've got anything on. I just have an Echo Boy plugin that's kind of doing like a slapback delay, and then I think that might be it actually. There's no reverb, but I'll just show you. So here's the main vocal, and if you haven't heard this song yet, I would actually encourage you to stop the video here, go listen to the song Shedding This Skin so you can hear what the song sounds like, and then it's 3 minutes long. Then come back over here and you'll be able to appreciate what this is, I think, a lot more. But here's the main vocal.
Woke up.
Sorry, I got these soloed here as well. All right. Yeah, we're good.
Up in this tug of war. Everything feels so godforsaken. What the hell am I fighting for? Little white rabbits got me chasing.
All right, so that's my main lead vocal. And in this song, it's sung high enough throughout the entire song that I'm going to have what I call low octave, which is literally just the exact same melody, an octave down. And I'm going to track those, as you can see, all the way through. Each of these is its own individual line, sung, recorded, edited. But I'm going to quad track them. I'm going to do it 4 times. And what you'll see is I do that with everything. So like my main vocal double, for example, is quite literally, it's the main vocal. It's just 4 more tracks of it. So it's like this.
Woke up in this tug of war. Everything feels so godforsaken. What the hell am I fighting for? Little white rabbit.
So you've got the main vocal. Again, that's the identical harmony. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Panned. In this case, 1 is right, 2 is left, 3 is right, 4 is left. So quad tracking on it, quad tracking on these low octaves.
Woke up in this
You can hear those
tug of
lows
war.
in there now.
Everything feels so godforsaken. What the hell am I fighting for?
The reason I do the quad tracking, and that's, by the way, with all of the harmony parts here as well, you can see everything is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's because if you double a track, so if you've got, like a main vocal, and then say you want to double it even twice, for me, if I pull those doubles up loud enough so that I've got, say, 3 total tracks, a main one sitting in the center, and then 2 left, right, I hear too much clarity in those doubles because there's only 1 left and only 1 right. And when I'm tracking and recording and producing these songs with such deep vocal layering, where like each of these individually is a totally different melody, right? This one is...
Little white rap, what the hell am I fighting for? Little white carousel out of control.
You can hear, let me go ahead and pull these up so you can hear them more clearly.
What the hell am I fighting for? Little white rabbits, carousel out of control.
So again, it's just a harmony part, completely different melody that's harmonizing with the main vocal. But it's for this, let's see, these it's harmony.
Take me loose, I need unwinding, how deep
That's what
is
that
this?
is that I just pulled up. So again, you can hear, and I'll just go through and kind of play each of them and pull them up while I'm doing it. So these falsettos, the falsettos, I kind of sing them on purpose. I don't want to say so they sound ridiculous, but I sing them really wild. Like I would never want to hear them very clearly in the mix. The point is to have this kind of crazy energy on some of these really high, like reaching the very top of my register range. Because when I blend them in with everything else, I love the sound that it creates. It's not a pretty sound. It's on pitch and it's kind of wild. But yeah, I don't actually... I'll turn these up. So you could hear that high one that was running through there. That's that one. We bring this one in. So it's just going to be a different harmony piece.
Woke up in this tug
Turn
of
it
war.
up.
Everything feels so godforsaken. What the hell am I fighting for? Little white rabbits.
Yeah, so I think you get the idea. So here we have, this is 1 separate melody. This is 2, so a second melody or a second harmony. This is a 3rd one, so 3, and then a 4th. So there's actually 4 different melodies being sung in addition to the main melody on this. Not all songs have this many, but most have at least the main melody plus 2 or 3 really strong harmony parts that are contributing to that main melody piece. And so, as far as, like I said earlier, as far as the tracking of the quads, this is kind of a fairly new thing for me. That the first song that I did this on, and I've been moving towards this for a while, but I'd only been doing it with like some of the tracks, just the important ones, and then others I would just double, because this takes so much time. The tracking's not so bad, it's the editing that just takes forever. But But yeah, the first song that I used these quads on was Puppeteer. And I think if you listen to it or Shedding This Skin or the new one that we have coming out, Say Words, you'll hear the difference between them and everything else that I've recorded previously, just in terms of the depth of sound with the vocal. Like what I'm really trying to do here is almost create kind of a pentatonics type sound inside of hard rock metal type stuff. It's not exactly like conventional in this space, but it should be. Like I love it. And I hear harmony so well. It's one of the most natural things that I do. And so like creating these, 2, 3, 4 part harmony pieces is not difficult. And what'll happen is I'll track a couple and then I'll just hear the one that I don't hear in there, right? I can just imagine it, and then it starts filling up space as I'm tracking it, and it'll get to a point where the main vocal sounds like it's so perfectly supported by all of these backing vocals that it just feels right. And so as far as like, well, I guess let me say this last thing. So everything is quad tracked, like I said, except for whatever the main vocal is the only odd number. And there's exceptions occasionally to this, but for the most part. So literally everything, including the doubles of the main vocal, the low octaves of the main vocal, all the harmony pieces, all of that is 4. And then this would be the 5th of the main melody piece, or the main one. You could call it the first, I guess. And the idea here is that this main melody piece, the phrase I like to use, especially when I'm describing it for mix engineers, is I want it to sound like it's nesting inside of the remaining vocals. So, there's, and it's a little tricky to try to describe this because what you're talking about really is the width of the vocals, the backing vocals, and then the depth. And that's all different mix techniques and things like that, and to some degree recording as well. But yeah, so this is basically able to kind of sit somewhat front and center, but feel very much like it's glued into or nesting inside of this massive, wall of vocal sound. And that, of course, is on top of, maybe next video I'll do the guitars, like these, everything down to here. So the guitars aren't as dense. The vocals are by far the most, the vocals are over half the session, the instruments and everything else. As far as like, yeah, again, tracking is super. Here's what I'll say. What you'll find is that if you're trying to quad track anything, whether it's guitars or vocals, the margin for error shrinks the more tracks that you record. So if you've got, plosives or consonants, SSTs, things like that are off a little bit, those little, micros or milliseconds that they're off start stacking up when you've got 20 or whatever, 24 vocals, like, supporting the main vocal. And so you have to be really precise with the way you sing it. You've got to be really on time. And I've obviously been getting better at this as I've been developing this kind of process. The other thing, though, is that as far as editing, like, again, because those little discrepancies add up and they can start really creating problems in the mix, I go through each one of these. I didn't even have these turned on. Well, I guess I did in the beginning. But I go through each one of these and run them through a program called Melodyne. It's kind of like auto-tune, but not really. It acts in kind of more of like a natural way. I've debated on whether or not I should do that because I don't keep any of the takes that aren't basically perfectly on, right? If it's not on, I just delete it and do it again. Part of why I do that is I'm trying to, even though I'm trying to do something out of the box here, I want to make sure that I'm still maintaining kind of like a modern sound. And unfortunately, most modern vocals are so heavily tuned. At some point, I'll probably feel more comfortable just tracking them really crisply and precisely and not doing much from a tuning perspective. But yeah, I just haven't gotten there yet in terms of my insistence on just everything being so perfect. So I spend time with each individual track, running it through. Again, not much tweak-wise, just if anything, what it really is it's like the scoops in and out of notes. Sometimes they can be a little bit much or they can be a little bit off. And so I like to try to line that stuff up and bring it to where it maybe fits better with the lead vocal. So that takes forever. And then the other thing that's actually more important is running these, and you can do these in groups, so it's a little bit faster, but it still takes a long time. Running them through a program called VocAlign. It basically time aligns everything, and you can adjust, just like with most plugins, the sensitivity. But you essentially set, like in this case, that since this is my lead or my main vocal track running through the whole thing, I set it as the reference track, and then the program takes whatever the, I forget what they're called, the, whatever, the tracks that are going to be adjusted slightly, and it models them after that lead vocal so that they're even tighter in terms of, like I said, when all those T's and S's, and just, it lines the words up really well, and so you get this incredibly clean sound that is, again, 20, 24, 28 separate vocal lines, but it's so glued together because of that really tight editing that you don't get all of this, slight differentiation that causes issues with a mix. So, yeah, I think it's becoming kind of a signature part of the Firefollow sound to have these really deep vocal harmonies, deep and wide vocal harmonies. And again, it's just something that I love. Like, I could basically listen to these as a cappella tracks, and I think they would be just as dynamic as they are with all the instrumentation. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to... Yeah, I think you get the idea. Yeah. As far as tracking goes, I'll do probably a separate video on that, but I am tracking through, it's called an Oven. It's from Maor Applebaum and Chris Henderson. Again, go to Handy Amps, you can find it. It's just it's a crazy, incredible, what does he call it? Like a mojo box, it adds like distortion, or it better said, probably saturation, and just a lot of harmonic content to the vocal. So I'm running through, this one was tracked through a Manley Core, was the pre, into the Oven, and then I'm going into an Audioscape 76, it's the blue facing, or the blue plate one, and then last it's hitting, it's a Handy Amps Pollock, which is basically kind of like an LA2A. It's not, the 76 is a really aggressive, fast compressor, and so it's going to grab the transients. I'm not touching it very hard because I don't want it to do so much that when it gets to my mix master guys, they can't then control it a little bit more to sit in the mix. So I'm doing really light on everything. It's not super aggressive on the Oven, very light on the 76, and then on the Pollock, it has way more adjustable characteristics than the LA2A does, and so I can get just a really nice sound that levels it, but that still leaves enough variance in the dynamic range of the vocal that, again, when it gets to them, they're not having to tame all of that kind of crazy up and down. They've got a much tighter track to work with. So fine balance there. I'm still getting better at it, but I do like tracking with the gear as opposed to tracking everything just totally dry DI and then running it back through. The time it takes to do this and to do all the editing on everything that you see here that's highlighted, individual, it just days and days and days to get these things sounding really tight. So yeah, and then I didn't even include these, but these are just some like kind of things in the bridge, and then up here there's some more whispers and kind of random robot voices and stuff. And then these are, I usually, on the recent tracks, I've been actually 8 tracking the screams. I'll do 4 that are really aggressive and then 4 that are quieter, more like textured, I guess. And so I like to send those out to blend those in addition to the main screams. So yeah, the quad tracking thing I think is the way to go if you've got the time, the ability to do it. In terms of getting that massive wall of vocal sound where you get the sort of the beautiful characteristics of multi-part harmony without having to hear kind of the nuances of each individual voice, this is how you do that. And yeah, I'm sure I'll keep evolving this process, but for now this is basically how I'm getting those crazy vocal sounds and all the Firefollow stuff. So if you got any questions, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Love to talk to you guys. Peace out.